You have no idea, but this turned out freaking awesome. Check this stuff out. Share this video with anybody that you know that owns a Chrysler Town Country or a Dodge Grand Caravan. It's not a matter of if it's going to happen, it's when it's going to happen. But we got your back. All of these are super exciting. And now, our new addition. This is Clay with YouTube The Clayway here in Grand Rapids, Western Michigan. Conceive it, believe it, achieve it. If you haven't found out, surprisingly, that works for babies as well. And now rusted trailing arms on the 2008 to 2020 Chrysler Town Country Dodge Grand Caravan. Yeah, I needed to say that for the algorithm. People reach out to me daily on Clay's AC and Auto Repair over Facebook Messenger asking me to fix things like this. But most of them aren't serious. Well, this gal most certainly was, because me and Patty Ray, we hopped in the van and went to Hollywood, Florida. Boy, it was awesome. Where we picked up this slightly used 100,000 mile 2011 Chrysler Town Country. Now, this is the same thing as the Dodge Caravan. This has obviously got a big fisting problem here. It shouldn't do that. That's definitely not what she said. And that's because up underneath here is a busted trailing arm. And if you already don't know, the trailing arm disconnects from the body and the whole rear end floats. That's not good. That's actually a really big problem. That freaking wheel will move 6 inches forward and backward. So every time you start and stop, that wheel's moving back like this. And what do you think's going to happen to the rest of the suspension underneath there? Oh, that's right. Your axle's going to be behind you, but way further than the van. What else to do but load the van on the Clayway trailer and get headed back to Michigan, eh? When that trailing arm is disconnected from there, this whole rear end will move because it's only held up by these freaking springs and only held in by this panhard bar right here. Without that there, this whole thing can move. Needless to say, I had this van for about 3 months. And at first, I wasn't looking so good. If I was just going to fix this, it wouldn't really be a problem. But I needed to design something that people could do in their driveway. And that took a lot more time than I thought it was going to take. Well, here goes a week of work that I'm never going to get back. Have you ever started something and realized during the process that what you thought was going to work is not going to work, so you have to start over from scratch? Well, that's why they call me the Elon Musk of rust. This is exactly why you always keep a lighter, because you never know when you're going to need to set something on fire. Well, I didn't end up setting the van on fire, but I did end up setting this old part that I cut out on fire when I was trying to cut the box out of here. Damn, it was hard to get this box out. And crazy. Yes, straight from the factory, they put spray foam in the rail of this thing. Then I started to understand why that box was so hard to cut out of that thing. It was because there were 4 to 6 layers of material that I was cutting through. And I can't believe this thing ever actually rusted out. Right here is what we're cutting through. So during the development of this, I realized I needed to utilize what part wasn't rusted out, like this edge right here, to keep the structural integrity of this. Plus, I had another problem needing for this to be located square every time for alignment. Making matters worse, this was compounded by the fact that this is the only part that holds this rear end square. So we have no compromise or leeway on the integrity of this part, and this being connected more rigid than most other parts underneath the structure here. The setup on this differs significantly to what I've seen on the Chevy Equinox GMC terrain trailing arms that I currently produce. There are 2 boxes underneath them, where in this Chrysler Town Country Dodge Grand Caravan, there's only 1. And on the GMC Terrains and Chevy Equinox, if the front one goes bad, well, there's still a back one to hold it. For a little while, until you ruin that one too, like a lot of people do. In other words, if this part that I create has any amount of play whatsoever, it will loosen this rear end, wear out the tires, wear out the wheel bearings. Not to mention the trailing arm box would come loose, and that would create a lot of problems. All of this needed to be engineered into a package that you, in your driveway, over a weekend, could prepare for and implement. And I know for certain that I absolutely nailed it. Almost on the first try. This is how we become an addition to society instead of a subtraction. We take and lay our top part down. I made this piece so it would fit on the floorboard without any measurements, cutting, or grinding. The only thing that's going to be necessary is you're going to drill 2 holes. Then we're going to go from underneath here and we're going to slide in this piece, which is also designed and cut to the bottom of here. So there's no measuring or anything like that. You just slide it in. Don't worry, I'm not going to say it. Damn it, I can't help it. That's what she said. Then we start to slide up in our main structure. And if this thing doesn't go in there, you just kind of move it around a little bit or beat it like Michael Jackson. Now this is intended, so all you have to do is snug these bolts and these nuts up. You don't have to torque them down or anything like that because they're going to bottom out on the shank. When you tighten them bolts down, it pushes these up against this and then sucks that whole box together. It's pretty ingenious how it works and super simple. Probably one of the best inventions I've made to date. But stay tuned. At the end of this, I'm going to give you a short look at what's going to happen next here on the Clayway. Probably my biggest challenge yet as far as rust repair goes. No, Kimmy, it's my biggest challenge yet.
Are you sure of that?
I'm totally sure. I'm sure it's my biggest challenge yet with no teeth.
It depends on what you're comparing it to, because if you're comparing it to things that are down south, I don't think it's very big.
Keep in mind, no matter what you think you can or cannot do, if anyone else can do it, you can do it too. This video and kind of give you a basic idea of the thought process about this and the parts that are inside the box. This is your main box, and this is the interior cutout of your driver's side. It's going to be the same for the passenger side. It's just going to have a different layout to this bracket right here. This bracket right here is designed to fit onto here. Now, obviously, mine doesn't fit securely on there because I've warped this bracket a little bit, but you can see where it fits up here and here. And this is designed so these 2 holes right here, you can drill them in there. And things that protrude up through the floor, like the wire holders, have these smaller holes here. On the corners of these, we're going to use some self-drilling screws. That allows it to stay stationary in one place so it doesn't move around a bunch while you're drilling and bolting it in. However, don't do that immediately. I know guys don't like to watch information that they find unnecessary, but you do want to watch the complete installation video prior to attempting anything so you know what's going on. To not only know how to do it, but why you're doing the things the way I intend you to do them. The next thing that we have is this part right here. This part right here slides up underneath your brake cable, your brake lines and everything, and it sits in there like this. Now, what you do is you push it up against there, and this will give you the layout for what you're going to cut out. Now, this portion right here, if you look, the T goes up against the wall, and it's going to difficultly fit in there. And that's an intended purpose because when this box goes inside here, it needs to be really tight. Once you've got that in there, and yeah, sometimes it needs a little bit of hammering, but you want to make sure that everything is ground down and it sits in there like this. Now that you've got that fit in there securely, you can use a couple self-drilling screws to hold this down for a little bit till we get to the next step. I've got a drill bit included inside the kit as well. You'll be able to drill them holes through the floor at the same time as this is up here. When you go to drill them holes, you can just take your jack and take this plate and set this plate up on here and push pressure against the jack so you can drill through the floor. Once you've got the holes drilled through the floor, you'll be able to insert the bolts from the top, and they'll be supplied nuts and washers to be able to bolt it down. This will allow everything to sandwich together and still be removable. Making it this way allows you to be able to move the parts into your necessary position depending on how you lay them down. Now, the intended portion of this is supposed to sit on top of this, so when you bolt it down, it sucks this down to the floor and makes everything semi-square. Because things are going to be kind of a little bit different, meaning like there'll be different waves and contours in the floor, we don't need to measure anything. We just want to be able to bolt it in and unbolt it. So we're not going to weld anything yet. We still have to clean everything up at this point. But we want to get the layout done. And I've thought, if we do it this way, if we were to take that sandwich together, have our jack up underneath there, and we drilled the hole through the floor and through the bottom plate at the same time, nutted and bolted it, it's really never going to move because you're going to tighten it up and then you'll be able to weld everything together. However, you need to clean up all of the surfaces before you start welding, so the last thing that we're going to do is actually weld anything. Now, after we've got everything bolted in, we've disconstructed it, we've grinded everything down, we've primered it, now we're going to bolt it back together and we're going to start welding it. And you don't have to utilize every single hole. They're there because sometimes it'll be rusty up underneath here. And the holes are there so we can add spray foam later. Now, some of the other washers that are in here are for this. Now, you would think these washers are here for the bolts, but they're really technically not. When you go through the video and you watch the video at the very end, before we weld these washers down to this bracket here, we're going to take it over and give it a rear end alignment. Then you weld the washers to the bracket, and when you go to put in the bolts, there won't be any need to have another alignment. Now, with this bracket, during the installation process, you're going to clean everything up, get all this scaly rust off with the wire wheel, and you're going to slot these holes. Generally, I will slot the rear holes at 9/16 and leave these ones up here in the front at 1/2 inch. You're going to find that out in the step-by-step video where I show all the nuance of the installation of this, things that are in your way and so forth and so on. Then, after the rear end alignment is complete, you'll have these bolted together and you'll be able to weld these washers to this bracket, and then it won't ever be able to move back and forth during normal everyday driving. From the factory, this is a non-adjustable rear end, but since we replaced the trailing arm box in here, it needs to be adjustable. But we also don't want it moving later, you know, during normal operation. When you do that, then the bracket will stay stationary, and every time you unbolt it or you bolt it, it's going to go back to the proper alignment. You might be at some point asking yourself, why did you do this, Clay? Well, I wanted this bracket to be like this, but in order for it to fit in a reasonable box to ship, because it's such a heavy box, I needed to cut this off of here. So when you get it, you can just tack weld it back together, and then when you go to seam it down, you can put it in there. That way, it saves both of us a little bit of money. The short bolts are intended to be used here, and the long bolts are the ones that go through the floor. These are 1.5 inch bolts. These are 1 inch bolts. They are 1/2 inch, 13 thread, 8 grade. The idea behind this is that with these larger pieces, this displaces the energy that's absorbed from this box. So putting a large footprint over all of this seems to be an engineering, necessity. And this will transfer this over a greater area to not have as much movement. So it is necessary to use all the parts that are utilized inside the box that are included inside the box. I hope this video allows you to understand the process and the thinking behind this repair and why it's, it's simple genius is what it is. I like it. That's why they call me the Elon Musk of rust. If you enjoy this process, go back to the original video that you saw about repairing this problem. Make a comment if you end up purchasing these brackets, because it'll help other people know that I'm not just selling crap over here. God bless, folks. Have the greatest of days. I hope you enjoy the process. Get on to the next video and watch that damn thing so you don't mess this up, because there's a lot of nuance to this.